Hey guys, so I hope you guys are all back from your breaks and we can get started with the second part of the training session for today. Before I move on to the domain management part of the training, that is the second part of the training, I would like to run a poll to know about how you guys use a feature. So I'm going to run the poll now. So would you suggest the domain alias feature to create alias addresses for the same set of users in multiple domains in an organization? So what we mean is, in case you have the same set of users in two different domains that you have configured in your organization, would you suggest the domain alias feature to your customers to make use of aliases created for the same set of users in different domains? We've been receiving a good engagement. So keep your answers coming, guys. We'll get started with the session in just about 2 more minutes. So meanwhile, while we wait for some others to get back from their breaks, uh, also just go ahead and let us know in the chat section about how you've been liking the training so far, if you found it helpful, and in case you want me to change the pace of the training, if you want me to be faster, or if you want me to go slower, do let us know in the chat section. Thank you. Sure, Matt, I'll keep that in mind. I'll also add the videos that I've been using as the learning material in the LMS portal. Thank you for that. I'll make sure that I upload the videos too. So we've got good engagement on the polls. A lot of you seem to already been using the domain alias feature correctly. I'll go ahead and talk in detail about how best you can use domain alias. So we have covered the first part of the training. We've spoken about the common mailbox features that all users will be using, and we've spoken about how best you can go and set up your domain. The multiple methods that are available to set up your domain have been covered too. Now we are going to be talking about the domain management section. So the settings that I'll be talking about for the next few minutes will be pertaining only to specific domains in your organization account. So the first feature that I'm going to talk about is domain aliasing. So domain aliasing is basically mapping a new domain as an alias to an existing domain. So like I just asked you in the poll question that we threw a few minutes back, domain aliasing is best used when you have the same set of users in two domains that you have configured in your organization. For example, say you have zilker.com and you have an alias domain called zilkergames.com configured for zilker.com. If you have the same 10 set of users in both the domains, you can configure domain aliasing instead of individually going and configuring an email alias for each of the users. I'll be talking in detail about email aliases too. So in case you have the same set of users in two different domains that you have in your organization, you can simply configure one domain as an alias to the primary domain, and all the emails that are sent to the email addresses that exist in the alias domain will be sent to the email addresses that exist in the primary domain as well. So when you are configuring domain alias, you need to keep certain things in mind. One is that you have to verify the alias domain as well with Zoho, and you have to point the MX records of the alias domain to Zoho Mail. So only then domain aliasing will work perfectly. And another thing that you have to keep in mind is that email hosting has to be disabled when you're configuring an alias domain. So email aliasing for the domain alias has to be disabled when you're configuring an email, configuring a domain alias. All right. So let me also give you a simple use case to put things in perspective. Consider that you have an organization, you had an old domain name zilker.com, and considering that you have rebranded and your latest domain name is zilkergames.com. So if you configure zilker.com as an alias to zilkergames.com, all the emails of your old domain will still be delivered to email addresses that exist in your new domain, right? In that case, you're not going to miss out on any emails. People who have only your old email address will still be sending the emails to the right place. So any email addresses that are configured in the primary domain will still keep receiving the old emails. So this is one of the perfect use cases that we can give you for domain aliasing. I'll be showing you a demo of how to go about configuring domain aliasing. Before that, before we go on to the demo, let me also cover some other concepts pertaining to domain management. Next is the subdomain stripping option. So subdomain stripping, basically, like the name suggests, it's pretty obvious, right? So if there is a subdomain that is configured in a particular organization, if you have subdomain stripping enabled for a particular domain, any subdomains for that main domain will still all the subdomain part of it will be removed from the main domain, and the emails will be delivered to the main domain address itself. So all the subdomains, so it means basically means removing the subdomains from the main domain part of it, and the emails will still be delivered to the email addresses in the main domain. So say, for example, you have an email address sales.zilker.com. So this is a subdomain to the main domain zilker.com, right? So in this case, what happens is if you have subdomain stripping turned on, the sales dot part of it will be stripped off, and the email will correctly be delivered to the email address that you have configured in zilker.com. For example, say user@sales.zilker.com. This is the email address that receives an email. And if you have subdomain stripping turned on, the sales dot part of it is stripped off, and the email will be delivered to user@zilker.com. So this is mainly useful in cases where you have there are organizations which have separate subdomains for support and separate subdomains for sales use cases. So if you want sales.zilker.com to be the email address that is portrayed outside, but you still want to receive all the emails pertaining to this email address into a single mailbox, which will be user@zilker.com, not user@sales.zilker.com, like will be visible to the outer world. So if you want to receive emails to use user at sales.zilker.com instead of sales.zilker.com, you can simply turn on subdomain stripping for this domain. So like with domain aliasing, the MX records should be pointed. MX records of the subdomain should. Are you guys able to hear me fine? All right, perfect. Okay, so I'll continue now. So you have to make sure that your subdomain's MX records are properly pointed to Zoho Mail. I will be showing you a demo for subdomain stripping and for domain aliasing. Before that, let me just cover one more topic that's there inside domain disclaimer, inside domain management. So domain disclaimer is another thing that we want to talk to you about. So disclaimers are a lot like signatures, except that disclaimers are domain-wide properties. A signature can pertain only to a single user, but disclaimers will pertain to the entire domain as such. For example, when you're adding a domain disclaimer, all emails sent out from your domain will have this disclaimer attached to it. One thing that one advantage that domain disclaimers have is that it ensure organization-wide consistency. This is one of the advantages that they have over signatures. And next advantage that we have is that even when emails are sent from IMAP and POP clients, domain disclaimers will be added, whereas that doesn't have to be the case with email signatures. So it's basically a paragraph or a piece of text that is appended to the bottom of an email. It's mostly a confidentiality notice or a legal notice. You might have seen disclaimers in emails that you've received. Say something like, this is a confidentiality notice, you're not supposed to forward this email to anybody. You would have seen text like this appended to some emails, right? These are domain disclaimers. For example, if you're configuring a domain disclaimer for Zilker.com, all emails that are sent out from Zilker.com will have this piece of text appended to the emails. So one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're using domain disclaimers is that when you are configuring and using domain disclaimers, any email replies and forwards from this organization will also have the domain disclaimer. So to make sure that the email thread doesn't get too long just because disclaimers are added every time, you need to make sure that you keep your disclaimers as short as you can. So these are the three major topics that we wanted to talk to you about with respect to domain management. Now I'll share my screen and I'll show you the demo for these three topics now. Are you guys able to see my screen? All right, so most of you seem to be able to see my screen. I'll go ahead and explain the domain management options that we have available in the control panel. So you go to the control panel and this is the primary view you will be getting of the control panel, all right? So you can see here that on the left, we have multiple options available. Right now, since we're talking about domain management, I am going into the domain section. So here you'll see a list of all the domains that you have configured with Zoho Mail. If you have multiple domains configured, all the domains that you have configured will be listed here. So you can see here that the status for verification status, email hosting status, and a lot of other options for each domain have been listed out here. Now let me show you the demo for how you go about configuring a domain alias. Simply click on domain alias. You see the domain alias option here. Click on that. And here you can see the option to add a primary domain and an alias to this primary domain. Select the domain that you want to set as a primary domain here. In my case, I'm going to select zilker.com. And in the alias domain, I'm selecting the transmail.xylem.org domain. So any emails that are being sent to transmail.xylem.org, say for example, user@transmail.xylem.org, if user@zilker.com exists, these emails will simply be delivered to user@zilker.com. If an email is being sent to user@transmail.xylem.org, it will simply be delivered to user@zilker.com. So once you set this up, you can simply click on add. So when you are configuring a domain alias, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that it's better to configure a catch-all email address when you're doing this. So just to make sure that you do not miss out on any emails that are being sent to invalid addresses. I will be covering catch-all email addresses in detail in the next section. But just to give you a heads up, even when you're adding a domain alias, make sure that you have a catch-all email address added. And next is the subdomain stripping option. So you can see that I already have subdomain stripping turned on for this domain. So for example, here you can see the example is zilker.com, right? So say I have a subdomain sales.zilker.com. Like I already said, the sales dot part of it will be stripped away from the domain name and the emails will be delivered directly to zilker.com. Any email sent to user, you can see an example right here. Any email sent to user@child.mydomain.com will simply be routed to user@mydomain.com if you have subdomain stripping turned on. So child.mydomain.com is a subdomain to mydomain.com. So this is about subdomain stripping. Like I already said, if you are configuring subdomain stripping, you need to make sure that the MX records of the subdomain are pointed to Zoho Mail. You can see here from the domain section that I added transmail.xylem.org as a domain alias to zilker.com. So you can see that mail hosting has been disabled. Mail hosting has to be disabled for the alias domain that you are configuring. Make sure you do that if you're configuring domain alias. Next, I'll tell you about domain disclaimers. You need to go to, you can see here that you have the org settings option. Go to org settings. And here you can see domain disclaimer. So you can see here that I have already added a disclaimer for zilker.com. You can go ahead and edit it if you want. Click on edit. You'll have a bunch of formatting options here. You can use whatever options you see fit. You can insert images if you want. You can insert links if you want. And you can edit the disclaimer for the domain that you've configured here. In case I want to add a new disclaimer, I simply click on add respective to that domain. And I can go about entering a new disclaimer for this domain. So domain disclaimers, you have to remember that domain disclaimers are only domain-wide properties. It does not apply to all the domains in your organization. You will have to go back and add domain disclaimers separately for each of your domains. So that was about domain disclaimers. We have covered the domain management section in the control panel. Next, we are going to move on with the organization management section. Before we move on to organization management, we did have some of our customers, some of our partners right here, and some of our customers already asking us if we have a new revamp for tasks in place. Let me give you a quick sneak peek of the tasks revamp that we've been doing. So here you can see just a quick heads up to you guys about the task revamp that we've been working on. Once this is done, you will also be able to view your Zoho CRM tasks right inside your Zoho mailbox. So since it's something that a lot of you have been asking for a while, we thought that you'll be interested to know. It follows a Kanban view like a lot of you have already asked to. So we are working on this. It's a work in progress, and we're hoping to release it in the upcoming months. Sorry, guys, I tried to screen share. Looks like that did not work. I will share my screen again, and I will show you the view. So this is the view that I was talking to you about. I hope you can all see it now. All right, so I think you guys were able to see it now. So you can see here that this is the new view that we've been working on. Once this has been enabled, you can view all your CRM tasks too inside Zoho Mail itself. You need not navigate to a different tasks pane to view your CRM tasks. This follows the Kanban view like Zoho Connect, and that is also another feature that you guys have been asking us for a while now. So just thought you guys would be interested to know that this is something that we've been working on, and it should be available to you guys super soon. So moving on. So we spoke about the three different domain management options that we have, which is domain aliasing, subdomain stripping, and domain disclaimers. Next, we are going to move on with organization management. Are you guys able to see my slide? Are you guys able to see the organization management slide? All working fine? Just a quick check. Perfect. A lot of you are giving a positive response, so I'm going to move ahead with the training. So the first thing that we want to talk to you about in organization management is the various customizations that you can do for your organization as such. So the first one is that you can add a custom logo for your organization. The next is you can add an organization name. You can customize the name of your organization as per your requirement. And finally, you can also customize the login URL. So by login URL, what we mean is generally to log into Zoho Mail, you will go to mail.zoho.com and sign into your account, right? So instead of doing that, you can also make sure that your employees are able to log into Zoho Mail by using mail.yourdomainname.com. For example, say zilker.com is my domain name, right? I want to enable my users to log in through mail.zilker.com. We have options to do that too. I'm going to show you a quick video about how you can go about configuring a login URL for your organization. Just another heads up, this can be done only if you have either the superadmin access or the DNS manager access. So to add the login URL, you will have to configure a DNS record separately in your DNS manager. So if you want to configure a customizable login URL, you will have to have the DNS access for your domain. For the other two options, that is adding a custom logo and adding the organization's name, you will have to have the superadmin access. So now I'm going to show you a video about how to go ahead with adding the custom login URL. So you see here that I am logging into my DNS manager. I go to the DNS manager settings. You can see here that I have the value specific to my domain in the control panel. So the value that I'm adding here again, it's not universal. These values will be prescribed in your control panel. Go ahead, check it out in the control panel and add the values pertaining to your domain. Again, these are not universal values. It will differ according to your account. Set an optimum value for the TTL, probably 600 seconds. And you can go ahead with adding it. So you can see that I've added the CNAME value. Now just to make sure that it works, I'm going to log out and log in using my custom URL. So the domain for which I added the custom URL now is zmaildemo.com. I'm going to try and log in with mail.zmaildemo.com instead of mail.zoho.com. I use mail.zmaildemo.com and you can see that I've landed right inside the login page of Zoho Mail. So that is how you go about customizing your login URL. Let me also quickly explain the other organization settings that are available. And after that is done, we can go ahead with a demo of all the settings that are available with specific to your organization. So next we have the integrations and extensions options available. So there are three specific settings that you have inside integrations. So in case your organization members are coming up with new apps, they're developing new apps using the developer space, you can either reject or approve it based on your whatever is comfortable for your organization. You can either approve it or reject it. All these apps that your organization members are submitting will be available in the org app section. Next, there are the marketplace apps. You can choose you choose whether you want your users to be able to access specific marketplace apps, or if you don't want them to access these apps at all, or if you want to let them access all the apps that are available. I'll be showing you a demo for all of these. And then there is the integration section where you'll have a list of all the integrations that are available with Zoho Mail. You can choose which ones you would like your users to see, and you can turn off the rest if you do not see it fit. So one thing that I did mention earlier was the catch-all account. So catch-all account, you can, as the name suggests, it basically catches all the emails that are sent to your domain. So even in case, say that an email address has been misspelled, or an email has been sent to an invalid email address, but the domain name is still correct, these emails will all be captured properly by the catch-all account. You can take a look at all the emails that your catch-all account is receiving to make sure that your spam settings are intact. We will be talking in detail about the spam configurations that you can do. You can go ahead and take a look at your catch-all account if you have to reiterate your spam configurations. This is super helpful when you have domain aliasing configured. Like I already said, if there are certain accounts that are not configured in your primary domain, you do not want those emails to simply bounce, right? So if you can configure a catch-all account, all these emails sent to invalid email addresses will be captured by the catch-all account. Let me quickly run a poll now to keep you guys engaged and to see if you've understood the concept of a catch-all account. So what do you think a catch-all account is for? Is it to collect emails sent to specific people, or is it to collect emails sent to a specific domain? We have answers pouring in. That's very good to see, guys. Thank you guys for the engagement. I can also see that there has not been a single wrong answer until now. So it's good that you guys have been paying attention to. Wow, super impressed with you guys. I have hardly any wrong answers, all right answers. So it's pretty evident that you guys have been that you guys have an idea of what a catch-all account is for. I'll just wait for a minute here and then I'll resume. So thank you for your votes, people. So I'll be moving on to the next section in organization management now. So next in organization settings, we have multiple display formats. You can choose whether you want the last name of a specific person to be displayed first or the first name to be displayed first in the address book. You have the name display format just for that. Next, we have the email display format. So what the email display format does is, say you are adding a user to your organization, right? So right when you fill in the first name and the last name, Zoho Mail suggests an email address for this person based on the first name and the last name that you've entered. So what do you want this email format to be in? You can set a template, and all the email addresses that are suggested to you will be based on the template that you have just set. And then we have the spam process type. You can either choose to opt for spam processing for just for the email senders, or for the headers, or for the subject, or for the entire email as such. Then there is the org contact sync option. So generally when in Exchange accounts, when a user is added to the organization, their contact information gets updated in the address book. So this is just in the email client. But if you want this to be available in your org contacts devices as well, you can turn on the org contact sync option. Next is the welcome email template. So say you have someone new joining your organization. Instead of manually sending a welcome email, you can simply set a template. And right when a user is added, a new user is added to your organization, a welcome email will be sent it will be triggered from Zoho Mail's end based on the template that you have set up. And then there is the note suspicious login alerts. In case there are multiple suspicious login alerts for a specific user, you can choose to notify these users about the login attempts that have happened. And then there is the SMIME option. So SMIME is basically asymmetric cryptography. It's used to encrypt the the entire content of your email as such. So the two basic services that SMIME provides is digital signature and email content encryption. You can choose to turn it on or turn it off for your organization. So now I'll be quickly showing you a demo of these features. Are you guys able to see my screen? All good? Yeah. So I'll proceed with the demo of these features. You can see here that I went into the mailadmin.zoho.com, which is the admin console, and I went to the org settings section. Here you can see all the options that I just discussed. In the general section, you can see the name display format. You can choose whether the first name or the last name has to come first. And in the preferred email format, you can choose the first name or last name and the operator in between, and again, the first name or the last name option. And like I said, if you want your OR contacts to be synced to the devices too, you can choose enable for the sync OR contacts option. In org spam process type, there are multiple options available. In case you're choosing complete, spam processing will happen as per the organization's spam guidelines. Otherwise, only the content of the sender or the sender and header will be processed for spam. The welcome email template is to send a welcome email to any new person that joins your organization. Any new person for whom an email account is created, this template will be sent for that user. Then there is the suspicious login alerts. In case it is turned on, users will be notified of any suspicious login attempts for their particular account. And then there is the SMIME option. If you want to turn on cryptography for the content of the email, you can turn it on. And you can also allow users to upload their own certificates. We already discussed the domain disclaimer option. Next is the catch-all option. So you can see here that I do not have any catch-all addresses configured for this account. I can click on catch-all, add catch-all. You can select the domain for which you want to configure the catch-all address. So you see here that the catch-all address is domain specific. It does not apply to the organization as a whole. It applies only to the specific domain. You can type in the email address of any address that you have already configured in your user settings, and this address will be configured as the catch-all account for your organization. And then there is the integration and extension section. Here, like I said, if you have any applications that have been submitted by your organization members, you can approve or reject them from here. In case you've already approved them, you can also revoke access by clicking on the revoke button here. And here you can see the marketplace apps. So you can choose whether you want your org members to be able to access the marketplace apps, or if you want them to be able to install the marketplace apps. If you want them to access just specific apps, you have to add these apps to the whitelist. You can choose which apps you want to add to the whitelist. You can see a list of all the applications available here. And then there is the integration section finally, where you can see a list of all the applications that are available. So you can see that it is turned on for all applications. If you do not want them to access any of these applications, simply turn it off. But if you want them to access certain applications, you can turn on the permissions for applications you're okay with, and you can turn it off for the rest of the applications. So that is about organization management. Next, we're going to be moving on to the user management section. So let's start with the user management section in the control panel. So before we move on to the user management section, let me tell you about the different roles and privileges that we have. So there is the super admin privilege, which the super admin basically holds the highest position over all the other users in the control panel. And this person will have the option to change the roles of all the other users. Say you want to make someone from a user to an admin, or you want to make someone from an admin to a user. Only the super admin will be able to do that. And The super admin is the only person that can access the subscriptions and the payments page of your organization. But as we speak, this is going through a revamp, and based on requests from a lot of our customers and partners, we have made it accessible to the administrator as well. So go in the next few weeks, it should be rolled out to all users, and the administrator should also be able to access the payments page and the subscription page of the organization. Next is the admin privilege. So the admin is the only person, the admin and the super admin, these two are the only people who will have access to the mail admin console. The users will only be able to look at their own mailboxes. They will not be able to access the admin console. Next is the user privilege. They have access only to their mailboxes. All the settings that they do will only apply to their own mailboxes, and they will not be able to do any of the access or configurations for the rest of the users' mailboxes. All this can be done only by the admin or by the super admin. The admin, in addition to being able to access the control panel, can perform a variety of functions there. They can set up policies for users in their organization. They can manage the users and groups. They can also configure the spam policies for the users. So these are some functionalities that an admin has. So I'll be walking you through the user settings that are available. So all the settings that we're going to be discussing now will only pertain to a specific user. So in case you want to be able to customize the signature of specific users, you can do that from the control panel. So when you are setting up a signature for a user from the control panel, the user will not be able to override that from their mailboxes. And then there is the out of office option. So using the out of office option, you can configure a vacation reply for all the users, for the users in your organization. Again, when you have set up an out of office response, the user will not be able to override that. And then there is the email forwarding option. So when you are using the email forwarding option, you can choose which email addresses are emails from which addresses are forwarded to which addresses. You can basically set up a forwarding address for a specific user. And then there is the allowed IPs option. So in case, say you want to allow certain users to only log in from certain IP addresses, you do not want them to log in from IP addresses other than the addresses that you have prescribed there. For example, you can use this when you want users to be able to log in only from your office location. You do not want them to be able to log in elsewhere other than the office location. You can just specify the range of IP address for your office, and they will be able to log in only from this IP address. There is the two-factor authentication option. So with two-factor authentication, what happens is when you are turning on two-factor authentication for the entire organization, but you do not want certain users to go through this process when they're logging in, you can turn it off for specific users. So this is applicable only when it is turned on for the entire organization. You can further go back and turn it off for some of the users. So consider that probably a specific user has been receiving a lot of spam emails from a specific domain or a specific email address, right? In that cases, instead of adding this email address as a spam ID, or instead of blacklisting this email address or domain for the entire organization, you can do it just for the specific user. So user-specific spam settings are also available. And finally, you can disable or enable your services. So there are multiple services available like incoming, outgoing, IMAP, POP, packet, ActiveSync, etc. So in case you do not want a specific user to be able to access their POP or IMAP settings, you can turn this off inside their user settings. Finally, we'll be talking about email aliases. So email aliases are basically multiple email addresses for a specific user. You can add up to a maximum of 30 email aliases for a specific user. So this is most commonly used when they have multiple domains configured with their organization. So we can go for domain aliases if the same set of users exist in both the domains. But if we do not, we can use the email aliases option to configure aliases separately for a specific set of users. So say for example that you set up the email address for a particular user wrongly. You did not use the right address when you're setting up the email alias, right? So in cases like that, what you can do is if you have configured the primary email address wrongly, you can go ahead and add an email alias for this user and make the alias address as the primary address for this user. That will solve the issue, and you should be able to go ahead with with making their primary address as a different one. So in case you need to change the email address of a user, what you do is you go ahead and add an email alias and make the email alias as the primary address for the user. So next we will be going on to group management. Before we move to group management, let me show you a demo of all the user level settings that are available in the control panel. I hope you guys are able to see my screen now. You can see here that I have user details right here. I am going to be using this account for this demo. So I go to user details here, and you'll see a listing of all the users that I have configured with my organization. So a list of all your users in the organization will be shown here. You can simply select some of these users and you can choose to perform actions on these users if you want. So you can see here that you have the import user using CSV, CRM, other servers, G Suite. You have all these options here. If you want to export certain users, you can simply select some of the users and choose the export option. And in case you have multiple policies configured and you want to apply a specific policy at one stretch to a set of users, you can select those users and apply the policy that you want to. So once you click on a particular user, there are settings specific to this user available. You can see here that you can edit the profile of this user. There are multiple fields here. You can choose to enter the details for each of your users. You can edit the user's profile photo, or you can edit the profile. Then there is the mail accounts option. So in the mail accounts option, you will see inside this option, you will see most of the features that we just discussed. So here you can see that this is the default email address for this user, and this is the mailbox address for this user. So this is the primary address. But in case you see that you have not added the correct address by mistake, say you have added a different address than the one that you actually intended to, you can simply click on add new alias. I'm adding the correct email address, just an example for you guys. Say I'm adding this and I click on save. So this address will be saved as an alias to this particular user. But say I want to set this email address as the default address for this user. How do I go about that? I click on change here and I select the email alias that I just configured and I click on save. So this will become the default email address for this user. This will become the primary email address. So in case you need to change the email address of a user, this is how you go about it. And next you can see here that I have a bunch of options here in case you want to turn on or turn off incoming, outgoing, spam check, active sync. This is where you'll have to go to find these options. So say for example, a specific user in your organization comes to you with the complaint that I'm not receiving any emails, and this is a problem that pertains just to this specific user. What you can do is you can simply go and look up in the control panel if incoming is enabled for the user. This is one of the preliminary checks that you can do. So apart from all these options, you see that with respect to POP, we have a couple more options here. If you are turning on POP access, you can specify whether you want all the emails in the account to be visible, or you want only emails after a selected date to be visible when they are accessing this account as a POP account in some other mail client. Then there is the mail forwarding option. In case you want to set up mail forwarding, simply click on add mail forward and add the email address to which email should be forwarded to. So say that you have this user is a fairly new user in your group, in your organization, but you want to add this user as a member to multiple groups. In that case, simply click on add to groups and select the groups into which you want to add this user. So you can do it at a stretch in case you have multiple groups configured and you want to add this user to multiple groups. And then there is the SMIME option. You can choose to turn on or enable or disable the SMIME for a specific user. And like I said, we also have the out of office and user signature options. So when you are configuring out of office and user signatures for a specific user inside the control panel, they will not be able to override it. So here you can choose what you want the message to be. You can choose an auto response interval and you can save it. So once you've configured this, the user will not be able to override this from their user settings. And finally, you see the option for user signatures. You can create a specific signature and you can associate it with any of the accounts, with any of the aliases that you have configured for this account. And then there is the change login email address option. So this option is primarily to make sure that when you log in, what you want to be the primary account, you can set that up here. So when you whatever you choose here will be the option that is displayed will be the email address that is displayed when you log into your mail account. And in case you want to change the password of a particular user, this is where you go ahead and do the password change. And please remember that every time you change the password of a user, you will also be required to input an admin password. The admin like say for example, you are doing the password reset from admin@gmaildemo.com. You will have to input the password for this specific account to make sure that the password change takes effect. Since it's an important operation, we have this mandatory constraint here. And any login history for the session will be available here. If there are multiple sessions that are going on for this particular account, you can see that here. And in the allowed IPs section, you can configure a range of the IP addresses that you want. So when you're configuring a range of IP addresses, you can say, for example, you can configure just the email IP address of your particular of your workplace, right? So you can make sure that this user can log in only from this particular IP address, which is your workplace, and from nowhere else. And if you have two-factor authentication turned on for your entire organization, you can choose to turn it off for a specific user. So here you have the option to turn it off. So this is mostly with respect to all the user level settings that we have. So we did go through all the user level settings that are available. We spoke about email aliases, which are a pretty important topic. And we'll quickly take a break for another 15 minutes now, and then we'll proceed with the group management section. Thank you.